We're live now.
Oh, we're live now.
Yes.
Hey. Well, welcome everyone. Today, special guest, Nick, not here, as you can see. We've got Jared today. Normally sitting on the other side of the... We've got Nick for the day. Normally he's on the other side of the camera, but today Nick's unwell, so he'll be back next week. Though Jared has done his research.
Tried.
And going to step in and deliver the goods. So, well, I mean... Twitter's been the place to be. Crypto's been the place to be. We're sitting right now, Bitcoin's around 110,000 US, so it is absolutely pumping, which is great. The big news this week has been the big fallout between Trump and Elon.
Bromance is
Bromance is over.
I hate it when dads are fighting.
We have to work out what's going on there because I don't know what they're fighting about, but it's been a really public spat, hasn't it? Like they've really blown up at each other. It's a proper blow up. And it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it all, what implications are. But I guess we only care as far as the impact on Bitcoin and crypto is.
That's right.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to have an issue, but we'll unpack it all the same. So this week in the headlines, I guess there's been some continuation, I guess we can call it, of the important stuff that's been happening over the last few weeks, months. A lot around stablecoins. Singapore has some huge news this week, actually, which we'll probably have to jump into straight away.
Definitely will.
Because it was, I guess it came out of the blue for everyone. No one really saw it coming. And there's going to be some real implications for, I guess, the region, at least the immediate region. Australia, Singapore, homes to us. Probably some winners out of this. Maybe Dubai, maybe Australia. We'll jump into it. All right. So I guess the big key things this week, usual stuff as well. Of course, not financial advice. Just our opinions. Do your own research, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. All right. So... headlines this week. I guess the key stuff. So Bitcoin has bounced back after briefly dropping after the Trump-Musk feud. The headlines. The US has added a bunch of jobs. So I guess Nasdaq's pumping. The S&P 500 is pumping. So there's some good news there, and Bitcoin is tagging along with that. Fear and greed index, which I still don't understand, but it is at 71 out of 100. So I guess...
Means close to greedy.
Close to greedy.
Everyone's
Can
greedy.
someone explain to me exactly how they determine that number? The source for all this, Bloomberg, Bitcoin versus gold. So there is, that's what they're reporting, not me. All right, so let's start this off. So does Bitcoin even care about Trump and Musk?
I don't know. I mean...
No, you do know. That's why I'm asking you.
We all thought the bromance was going to cause record highs. They've broken up, and we've seen over the weekend, I guess, Bitcoin tracking upwards.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is like shared custody where someone gets the Dogecoin, someone gets the Bitcoin price. But look, who knows? Who knows where this is going to go?
Well, can you run us through some of the, I guess, the Trump and Musk stuff? All right. So why are they fighting? Like, what broke them up?
Well, look, I think Musk feels like he's owed a worship session or something, or just you're so great, Elon. You never got the pat on the head.
You reckon?
I think that might be it because now that he's been dumped, all the secrets are coming out. All of the hidden relationship drama is being aired online, and it's not slowing down. In fact, it's getting worse.
You run us through some of the highlights because I mean the thing that I understood, as I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that Elon maybe a little bit naively came into this. He was obviously running the Doge department. And he was all about cutting government waste and getting government spending. And then the big, beautiful bill came along and the war of words erupted where Elon said, hang on a second, this is complete. We've just been trying to save all this money and you're going to come out and just spend more money. And Donald was like, no, you don't understand. And...
he felt unappreciated, and
you didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me any of this was going to happen. And Trump was like, "Well, I don't have to tell you anything, but you did know about it." And so the war of words erupted, where Trump was like, "Well, we told you everything you knew, and it's a shame that we can't be friends anymore." And Elon was like, "You didn't tell me any of this, and now we can't be friends."
Well, Elon's also spent all this time to save X amount of dollars, and then finding out that his personal net worth has dropped by more than that.
Oh yeah, of course.
During the interim. And so he's running back to his company, and then to have the president who he just worked for, just to go, oh, look, all of these changes are going to make Doge basically ineffective. Like the loss in tourism is more than Doge saved already. So it's one of those things where Elon feels underappreciated.
You reckon?
I think so. I think that's a big part of it.
Okay, so what is some of these other stuff coming out? I know like he does this stuff. Like he's come out and he's like, you know what? Here's the big drum. The reason we didn't get the Epstein files is because Trump's on it. And even Trump's lawyer, Epstein's lawyer came out and said, yeah, Trump might have been in the records, but he didn't do anything wrong.
Yep. I think it's two big personalities unable to accept that the other one might be right or wrong. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Well, the good news is it doesn't seem to be having much, if any, of impact on the Bitcoin price, and crypto market still seems to be going well. And of course, the US dollar stablecoin adoption seems to be steaming ahead unimpeded. The big news, which we will talk about here, would be the, I guess, Circle, the IPO on debut.
Yep.
It's gone extremely well. So I know we had some other articles we want to touch off on, but let's go through the Circle IPO stuff, seeing as we talked about, this is a big piece in my mind. So Circle IPO triples on debut. So there we go. So now valued at 30.5 billion US. A couple of the, the clippers from there. So USDC, for those who don't know, I'm sure you are, is the issuer Circle. So Circle is the company that issues USDC, which is really a US dollar stablecoin that competes head-to-head really with Tether, USDT, which we all know about. But it has surged on the New York Stock Exchange on debut, tripling its $31 offer price. Market cap is now sits at, as I've said before, $30.5 billion fully diluted. And analysts say it signals rebound for broader IPO market in general. So, all right. So given all that, the IPOs have been few and far between recently.
Yeah.
Right? But is this the spark needed for the IPO market? And more broadly, could we see a bunch of other crypto companies following suit?
I think so. I think this is the spark that's needed to get those IPOs. IPOs have been, frankly, dead for a while. I think. I don't know whether that's because of the ICO craze that it's just tainted those kind of money raising events. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously positive. 3 times the level that they've first floated with, and yeah, that's Circle. It's an amazing business model. You are printing money.
Yeah. So I guess for these businesses like Circle, like Tether, their real, their business operation relies on minting new USDC. So you give them your US dollars, they mint your USDC, so your stable coins. They don't pay interest on these products, and I guess they're a major revenue source for these businesses is that they can then go and park that money in treasuries. And they collect the difference. But in the meantime, you get the utility of using US dollar stablecoins. So this is not I guess a lot of issuers of stablecoins follow this play out. But USDC or Circle in particular have really hung their hat on. They have been slower. I guess the adoption rate compared to say Tether has been slower. But one thing they have always been very keen to make sure they do is they tread maybe a slower but a very sturdy. Compliance heavy, work with the regulators, work with the regulator to have a real focus on being deemed to be this really, I guess, sturdy, transparent business. Because you just wouldn't otherwise see them be able to list on something, list on a major stock exchange without all those regulatory compliance pieces in the world, which to my mind is a good thing, broadly speaking, for adoption because, when you're dealing with them, there's a level of transparency you don't get with some of the other providers. And the big thing that's always hung over Tether's head is that we've never been 100% sure that they've always got what they've said they've got.
Well, that was the question I was going to ask is one of the requirements for listing an IPO or becoming a public company, is it that you need to provide proof of those reserves?
Look, I don't know the ins and outs of the listing, but there is a very stringent requirement for any listed company that all the statements that you make are true and certifiably true. Because if you've made false or misleading statements to investors and the market, someone's going to jail for that. So you can't go out there and be like, yeah, bro, it's all good. You have to have what you say you have. So in terms of the exact requirements for filing for an IPO, I don't know, but I do know that, broadly speaking, if you lie to the market, you go to jail. So let's assume what they're saying is true.
For now.
For now.
Trust me, bro.
But there is, I think, again, broadly speaking, this is the real challenge for, say, USDT, for example, everyone's always said, do you have the reserves? And I do have a little bit of sympathy for someone like Tether. I mean, they have gone through periods where, the price is depegged, but they've always been able to manage redemptions in an orderly fashion. That is, they've always been able to supply give you back your US dollars whenever you've said you've got, whenever you've called them to the tunes of billions in, spaces of 24, 48 hours to me, which suggests, a level of robustness. But again, it's not the same as having audited financials and all this kind of stuff, proof of reserves provided. So whenever you don't have those things, it does come back to a kind of a trust me bro situation. Okay.
For those watching live, we've actually had to pause the live stream. We're still being recorded and we'll upload it straight afterwards. Unfortunately, we're running off a poor internet connection, but they'll be able to see the full high quality version in about half an hour. So I apologise for the live streamers. We've had to cut it off because of the low skipping, but this will be all up in about half an hour.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's no good.
I do apologise, but our Nick also controls the LAN ports.
All right.
So you get poorer quality commentary and poorer quality internet.
All right. So it's cut off. All right. Well, let's go through the session.
It's still recording live.
It's still recording.
So, yep.
Okay. So that's no good. Next week.
It'll be back up. I'll have the video back up online.
We'll have the video back up online shortly.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the US stablecoin bill heads for a vote this week. So we've talked about over the last few weeks, the Genius bill is nearing a bipartisan vote after new amendments. Clarity for the bill for crypto market structure may also head to the committee, and lawmakers aim to pass legislation before the August recess. So once again, I guess we've talked about this for the last few weeks, but we're getting closer to, we're getting closer to having the Genius bill and the Clarity bill, which is a new one. So let's have a quick rundown on the differences between Genius and Clarity.
Yep, so I've done my research this one. So Clarity actually stands for, it's a mouthful, the Crypto Asset Legislative Alignment and Regulatory Investment Transparency for You Act. So the Y is the U. And so the Genius Act is the Stablecoin and Standardization Bill. It's basically for consumer protection. So it's all of the things that control stuff like KYC, customer returns in case there's absolvency, that sort of thing. The Clarity Bill is more about deciding who regulates what part of the industry.
Okay.
So is the SEC after bad actors? Is the CFTC involved in registration of companies? It's just a division of who and what. So that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah. I learnt that.
There we go. Now everyone who's watching has learnt that as well. All right, so let's keep moving then. This week also we're seeing Ethereum. Nick's not here today, but we all know that when Nick talks, markets listen. And ever since he talked bullishly of saying, hey, we might see some positive price action after the Pectra upgrade. I guess the market had been waiting to see that. It has been straight up. And look at the Ethereum ETF in this case here. So we've got this one's from the block. Ethereum ETF is seeing an inflow of 837 million inflows over the past 15 days.
That's huge.
We've got some context for that.
Well, I mean, ETH's on a tear. It's one of those coins where, and probably Nick will probably back me up tomorrow, but it's one of those coins that wouldn't necessarily be called an altcoin now. Altcoins were traditionally used to describe anything that wasn't Bitcoin. Maybe more so L1s, but Ethereum has really kind of wedged itself as the, second class Bitcoin. It's not quite an altcoin. It's not following the trends of other altcoins. It's actually it's on its own run at the moment. So yeah, okay. That's probably why. And people cycle from Bitcoin as soon as Bitcoin gets a little bit stagnant, you see people jumping across to Ethereum. It's this weird cycle.
That's some things. Well, some highlights of it. So they've logged now 7 weeks of continuous net inflow. So that's good. And futures open interest is up 47%. Staked ETH holdings have also hit record highs of 28%. So things are definitely going well for ETH. Bernstein, I don't know who Bernstein is, but Bernstein says real world assets and stablecoins are driving ETH value, which is kind of like, I guess you always want the donkey to be leading the cart, don't you?
Exactly.
And that's a good thing. So real world tokenization, real world asset, real activity on chain, driving things is no doubt a good thing. Okay. All right. So I know over the last few weeks as well, we've talked about various banks using, again, the adoption of stablecoins. It seems to be the flavor of the month. It's not like it just happened overnight. This has been building for a long time, but now we're starting to see maybe some fruit on the vine, so to speak. Deutsche Bank explores stablecoin and tokenized deposits. So what have we got here? Deutsche Bank is considering issuing its own stablecoin or joining an industry project. I know we talked about this last week, a few US banks potentially doing this. Also, tokenized deposits will be explored to improve transaction efficiency. So here we go, year of 2025, we're seeing the breakout of the stablecoin adoption, which I guess slowly then all at once.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we mentioned this yesterday. It'd be stupid for banks not to be in the stablecoin business. It is literally a license to print money. I mean, and if you're already a financial institution, you probably technically already have the reserves and the ability to do that. So it's not a huge, it's not massive news. It's just everyone's seeing the money that is flowing through to Tether and US and Circle and just going, I want some of that. And also, I mean, stablecoins as a technology is more efficient for a bank.
License to print digital money.
Exactly.
I guess.
And if they can save, if they don't have to involve third parties for large remittances and international transfers, then again, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. You know what is interesting? We had this discussion in the very first podcast we did. So we interviewed Adrian, our CEO, talking about his crypto journey and all this kind of stuff. And I think one of the questions we asked him, going back to our very first podcast, which was, Adrian, what's the killer use case for crypto? And he mentions in that episode use of stablecoins. And he said something along the lines of, why wouldn't you use it? It's just better tech. And the point that he made, and when you look at, I guess, the tech stack that banks have, for example, we have this cleaner, more efficient way of doing business now, which is crypto. It just works. Why not use it? I think that's borrowing his words. And, maybe double check that. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was more along those lines. And I guess what we're seeing now is, this merging of going, well, banks kind of going, okay, we can actually use this now to improve our own kind of tech stack. And there's enough expertise out there that maybe we can use this, bit of background noise, we can actually use this thing. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, places like Australia where we've got really good payment networks, really good, look, we've got the NPP network here. Perhaps we don't feel the need to jump on this, but there are a lot of other countries where this could be immediately sort of deployed and used. And I guess that's kind of the continuation of what we're seeing here. All right, next, moving along.
The Hong Kong story?
Oh, straight into the Hong Kong story. I was wondering which one we should choose next. Crypto funds are up. Yep, great. Hong Kong to legalise crypto derivatives. So one of the things we really have to talk about is the news in Singapore. So I guess this is an unfolding story, but for those of you who haven't sort of seen, last week or so, and this is one of the courts in Singapore, more or less dropped it pretty quickly. Now, I know there's nuance to this story, so I'm sure there'll be much more written about this in the future. But in broad brushstrokes, they're kind of saying, hey, if you're a Singaporean business and you're not licensed and you're offering, crypto transaction payment kind of services and you're not licensed, you've got to stop in Singapore. But there's the surprising part of this is that there was effectively no, grace period. It's kind of like we have a date. I think it's the end of the month. You have to be out. You're not licensed, you're out, which is incredible, right? Because in Singapore, we've talked about this for a long time. Singapore has been really great on a lot of businesses there. It's been really a friendly destination for capital, and a lot of innovation and crypto businesses have been operating there. But Singapore has said, get a license or get out. And I guess we're waiting to see now exactly what that will mean, because there'll be a lot of Web3 businesses in Singapore, a lot of businesses. I won't necessarily say who, because I don't know the inner workings of all of them, but a lot of businesses will just have to get up and leave.
Where will they go?
Where will they go?
Dubai?
I think so. I don't know, but I suspect Dubai might be a home for them. Where am I going with this? Oh, by the way, yeah, we don't have a story about that, but we do have Hong Kong to legalise crypto derivatives and stablecoin framework. So I feel like Hong Kong might be another destination for some of these Singaporean businesses.
Asia's really, really priming up. It's almost like the Dubai of the East. Less sand.
So what can you tell us? So I guess the headline here is that derivatives trading for pros, I guess professionals, so sophisticated investors, will be legalised soon, which already is a market, which is currently, so that is derivative trading, is already a market that's 5 times that for the spot market, or as Nick told us, the Todd market. And new stablecoin licensing laws will start from 1 August under HKMA oversight. So I guess this is potentially, is this Hong Kong competing with Singapore?
Maybe, but I mean, there's also an interesting China component. So this week again, China reaffirmed it's illegal to own Bitcoin for its citizens. It's illegal to do a whole bunch of these things, but at the same time, they're creating these channels through Hong Kong. And I mean, they're also utilizing Hong Kong as an off ramp for seized crypto. So it's banned with the one hand, but embrace it with the other. So look, is Hong Kong a proxy state for their? Hey, we're not in crypto, but we are.
I think so. Look, I had lunch. This is a year or so ago with a Chinese national, and he was telling his view. I'm not necessarily saying he was an authority on this, but his view was that yes, in China, crypto, Bitcoin mining, and a lot of this stuff is technically illegal because from a social harmony point of view, that you really don't want Mr. and Mrs. Zhang in the provinces, wiping themselves out with like huge leverage and huge volatility and all this kind of stuff. But the CCP, being I guess a fairly clever bunch, they've also said, well, there's obviously a lot of tech and a lot of benefit to this new technology and innovation and whatnot. So what we should do is have maybe an area that's quite pro-crypto so we can kind of get the benefit without necessarily making it legal in mainland China.
It is a proxy state.
That's his view, yeah. That effectively it's kind of like a proxy. Well, no, it's not a proxy state. It's like a little test bed. But of course, if everyone knows that, look, again, this is hearsay, but if there is some truth to that, that sort of viewpoint, it also does raise some big questions of going, well, hey, if you're a business and you want to do more and more business in Hong Kong, how involved is everyone? I think maybe not. I mean, this could be just one of these big conspiracy things, and it doesn't really. It's just that Hong Kong is just really pro innovation and really pro crypto.
They're already.
And they have done a lot
too.
And they're already integrated, and they've already got a market there. There's jobs and there's capital that throws into it. So, I definitely take that conspiracy theory with a large pinch of salt.
Yeah. Well, all the unlicensed Web3 businesses from Singapore will just have to catch a train to Hong Kong.
I don't know if you can from Singapore.
I'm not very good with geography.
Good luck if you're trying to catch a train. It's going to be a long trip. All right, next one here. So I know. In Australia, we just saw this. We spoke about it last week. Locate to You doing the Michael Saylor strategy, but we've also got well-established, I guess, strategy itself has raised another $1 billion for buying more Bitcoin. So the Saylor just will not stop. And Metaplanet targets 100,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, so Metaplanet is the Japanese fund. The crazy thing about Metaplanet, and this is actually a big point that's on the podcast, which comes out on Thursday. Metaplanet a year ago had a market cap of around 15 million. Today it's 5.6 billion US. That's
incredible.
That's amazing, and it's Japanese answer to MicroStrategy, and they've made a 100,000 Bitcoin target. It really does feel like a bit of an arms race at the moment. So collect all the Bitcoin you can because it is going to run out.
It is going to, well, if a few more Metaplanets and a few more strategies show up, it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I didn't do any research, but I knew that we were heading into a Bitcoin supply shock. And I feel like that's only going to be exacerbated. Now, I don't know the numbers at the moment, but I might have to look that up.
I saw something in the article. There was another Japanese company. I should have taken more notes. But there was a Japanese company that said it was going to raise $5 billion to buy a Bitcoin or something. What was this Japanese? Look.
Is that Bitcoin even left over? I don't know. Every time I hear 100 mil, I'm like, where is it coming from?
Well, anyway, I can't remember the name of the business, but there was a headline doing the rounds on social media this morning. Anyway, let's keep moving on. So Bitcoin supply shock. You've heard it here first, Jared. Are you going to be the Nick of Bitcoin? Are you going to talk about Bitcoin going up and it doesn't?
Look, Bitcoin is definitely going to change price.
Heard it here first. SEC chair. So we know now that Bitcoin is going to change price. Let's have a look at this one here. So the SEC chair has backs crypto self-custody and innovation exemptions. Well, Okay, so Paul Atkins calls out self-custody as a foundational American value. I mean, this is the whole point of crypto, right?
Yeah.
Self-sovereign individuals. And
Well, this is very interesting because
I'll run through some other points there. So SEC is going to explore on-chain financial systems with innovation exemptions, which is kind of different to a lot of other places that we're like, you'll actually do crypto, but don't go too far with it. Like an ETF, you can hold Bitcoin, but you can't really have it. All banks will be like, you can trade crypto, but you can't really own it. We don't want you taken off the platform in case you do something silly to yourself. But this here, they're backing it as a foundational American value, and self-custody kind of enshrined into the way they're going to write the laws.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC is on a bit of its redemption arc at the moment, isn't it? So, I mean, a year ago, they were the big baddie that comes after anyone who's trying to do anything in crypto, and they were seen as the evil organization that was holding everyone back. And now the muzzle is off and the leash has been loosened.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, for better or poorer, I mean, like now the SEC is apparently the group that's going to spur on the next bull run. I mean, everything is pro. All the news is pro.
Yeah, it's incredible how quickly things can change.
Yeah,
we've seen a change of administration, which is obvious, but to see this complete reversal in the attitude, top-down attitude towards developing pro-crypto innovation and solution has just been mind-blowing.
Well, it's in line with the Clarity Act, where it's saying, okay, SEC, you're no longer going to be in charge of legislation by enforcement. Or was it enforcement by legislation, or the other way around? Or essentially they
law by enforcement or whatever they said. Yeah, I mean, they're just going to go out and sue a bunch of people and work out what the laws are going to be, because there's going to be some case law, I guess, because the judges will have to make rulings based on the SEC's allegations, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so they've been effectively neutered in that way, and now they've dropped a whole bunch of high-profile cases against Ripple Labs, against Uniswap, a whole bunch of them. I guess I'll need this Clarity Act to find out what they actually do in the future.
There we go. Okay, so this one here is actually somewhat concerning, and certainly something, physical attacks on crypto owners spike in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, when I lost my bag, my missus hit me. So.
I don't have enough.
Oh, this is not the same. This is not the okay.
If someone were to, I feel like that'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
If I was held at ransom.
But I think this is talking about something different.
Yeah, sorry. But there has been it is an alarming trend. So there has been 25 plus documented cases of physical attacks on crypto holders, which is not great. Bitcoin family now hides seed phrases. So I think there's going to be, I guess this has always been the question. I don't think this is necessarily a new thing. Mm-hmm. In the sense that it has always been Bitcoin has always been a bearer asset, So if you hold it and someone can coerce you into taking it from you, it's no longer yours, because you don't have that, that third-party custodial arrangement in all cases. So look, I guess, what can the average crypto holder do to be more cautious?
I think first and foremost, it's 2025. Let's stop bragging about our bags.
Yep.
There are people out there that will, during a bull market, will go, oh, I've got 40k ETH, or I've got 4 Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. So you're just telegraphing to everyone how much money you have that's unsecured and not protected by a bank. You tell me, oh, it's all in my ledger and my safe. I'm like, so you've got 400 grand in your safe at your house. Interesting.
That's right. Where do you live again?
Yeah.
Come over for some tea.
I mean, yeah, look, crypto bragging is fun, but you also got to remember, this is real money. Back in the day when it was more speculative, it was more fun to, I guess, compare your bags that were worth nothing. But
compare how much you've round tripped over a cycle.
That's it. So and look, I think the main concern is always crypto security. So keep your seed phrases to yourself if that's what you're doing. If you're doing self custody. Keep the ledger in a safe, keep the seed phrase written on a piece of metal pewter in another part of the house or something along those lines. Or for the best security, just leave it on an exchange. I used to be more libertarian and be like, not your keys, your crypto, but I guarantee that most exchanges are better at keeping things safe than I am.
That's true. Certainly with IR, the amount of effort that good exchanges go to keep their customer assets safe, it's better than a Trezor wallet or a ledger. It does go. I understand the argument because crypto is all about being your own bank and holding those assets, but you need to make sure that you've got proper security in place because if someone comes knocking on your door, then you want to make sure that they can't get a hold of your assets too.
Yep. And look,
if I don't have enough crypto to, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, neither do I. None of us have any crypto at all. No, I mean, if someone came over to your house and put a gun on your face and said, "Give me your crypto seed phrase," I'd hand it over. I mean, it's life's worth more than that. So it's the same thing as being robbed for your ATM card. And look, there's precedence in this. As long as there's been digital products that have been worth money, there have been attacks like this. I mean, you go back 5 or 6 years ago, people were being unalived in the Philippines for Axie Infinity characters.
That's incredible. And it's sad as well.
I've had my brother as a 7-year-old was lured into a forest on RuneScape and completely drained of all of his things. And this was a gang of kids at his school that did this. And I went to the principals. There was detention. It was a whole thing. But yeah, always keep your digital stuff safe.
Yeah, stay safe out there, people. Stay safe out there. All right. Well, I think I think the key stuff this week has been Trump,
Musk.
And it has been a bit of a non-event as far as crypto is concerned, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. But like I said, there's some. I think the real part that I would be looking at this week is the stuff that's coming out of Japan right now, the Metaplanet stuff, and I guess some of these other businesses that are looking to buy more Bitcoin. Plus, what's going on over there with the funny business with a lot of their yield control stuff. I mean, yield curve control. That it just seems to be there's a lot happening in Japan, and Japan just seems to be one of these places that is really really not fond, but really apt at just going and doing something new and just exploring it and developing themselves.
That's definitely true.
Right?
Yeah. No, and look, recent reports have put the Japanese economy to accelerate over the next 10 to 15 years and overtake the US over the next 10, 15 years. So they're going from strength to strength unless you talk to population numbers.
That's always been the question with Japan is, they've got this aging demographic and lower birth rates. And
they lost 400,000 people last year.
Right, shrinking.
The number went down by 400K. That's huge. And that's including immigration. So
you're right. Because Japan has been famous for not really, if you're not Japanese, you're not Japanese. And they don't really have immigration. But maybe that's changing. That'd be interesting to kind of delve into a little bit more. We need to do a segment on Bitcoin in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of their crypto legislation already done.
That's right.
I know, for example, the Cardano ICO was done fully legally. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I say fully legally, almost all ICOs were technically illegal.
No. Well, they had a legal framework.
But they had it. Yeah, they had a legal framework to get it all done, and there was a blind first sale, so whales couldn't accumulate. You had to be registered with the Japanese KYC and all this stuff. So. And there was a lottery to buy. So
the Japanese leading the charge. There was a great example. The example I would give you with Japan having their shit sorted is that during the FTX collapse, FTX Japan was one of the few locations where customer funds, because they had rules in place. If you wanted to do in Japan, you had to do things a certain way, and it meant that customers of FTX in Japan had all their assets secured, and they got all their crypto back.
It's lucky. Yeah.
There you go. That's not an argument for good regulation and forward thinking and organisation from a country point of view. That example alone just shows you the benefit of having real clarity around this stuff. So,
they'll be way ahead of us. But if we copy and paste our legislation after countries at work, we'll be right there.
Okay.
That's Steve Vallis' quote.
Steve Vallis' quote.
Copy and paste.
Copy and paste. All right. Copy pasta. Well, Jared. We've got through the news articles, no Nick, but you know what? We managed to get through it all. Shame we got cut off with some of the lack of internet speed. But
you'll see this video live very shortly.
Video is going live. And thank you very much, Jared. We'll see you next week.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
All right, guys. Thank you.